Good morning, y'all. So it was a late night last night. I got into bed at 4 o'clock. Yep. So I was up pretty late working on this thing. Of course, other RCs too, but mainly this thing. I got the 4 shocks done, and I'm really happy with the suspension. Feels pretty good. Next thing on our list to do today is we're going to be taking out the ESC and the receiver. We're going to put some new electronics in it. So what we have planned for is putting this QUICRUN 1060 brushed ESC in. It's waterproof. It's actually a really good ESC. We got to put some connectors on it a little bit later. We're doing a 2.4 gigahertz conversion on it, so we're going to get a 2.4 gigahertz receiver on it, and we're not bind it to my Flysky GT3B, and then we're going to put a waterproof receiver box in it. This whole entire truck's going to be waterproof. So my main goal for this truck is for it to be waterproof and more bashable, pretty much. The rear axle case is completely waterproof. Well, water resistant. I took the case apart and put bearings and everything in it, but I greased it up and sealed it up with my marine grease. So that should be good to go. So let's get started removing these electronics, shall we? Alright, so this is actually a really nice ESC. I'm actually going to be using this on a car really soon. I think we're going to use this on my TT02D because you can run brushed or brushless. And I had thoughts of going brushless, and it's actually, you can run censored on this thing, so it's pretty cool. But first we're going to take off all these zip ties. We're going to cut them off and prep this thing for some upgrades. So here we go. Alright, so let's get the zip ties cut off. Looks like we're loose. Alright, so we got all the zip ties off. Now we're going to remove all the cables from the receiver. Alright, so next thing we're going to do, we got our wires to our motor. We got to disconnect. So those are right there, right on the side. Alright, so we got our motor disconnected now. We're going to take out our battery really quick. I was using it to test. This is the ESC that it came with. And with this ESC, they came with a switch that could be bolted down to the bottom. We need to take that switch out. So 2 bolts to remove the switch. Alright, so when those 2 screws get taken out, this little plate comes off, and then your switch comes out. Looks like we forgot a zip tie right here. Alright, our ESC and receiver is all freed up, so now we're ready to take it apart, take it off the truck. So I'll lift up. There it is. Our receiver is out. Got our ESC out. Take some of this tape off. Alright, so we're ready for the new ESC and ready for the waterproof receiver box and receiver. Alright guys, so first, before we start installing our electronics, well, we got to do a little bit of prep work. and then we need to decide where they're going to go. So the first thing we're going to check out, we got this receiver box. That's where the receiver's going to go. It's going to keep it nice and waterproof. And then we have our brushed ESC that's waterproof. And let's see where it's going to go. So I'm thinking it's going to go right on top where the last ESC was. And then down here, no, I don't like that. That looks pretty good. That's gonna work. Just like that. So let me pick up my camera and light really quick. Give you a better look. So I think that's where they're gonna go. So the receiver box is gonna be right in the center. And there's the ESC. So now that we know where our receiver box and ESC is gonna go, we're going to be working on my ESC. We got some prep work we got to do to it. I noticed that these leads are a little bit too short, so I'm going to solder on some extra wire to it to extend it out. And then I'm going to put an XT60 on it. But yeah, let's get started on that. I already took the insulation off the wires on the tips. Alright, y'all. So looks like my soldering iron's up to temp. So we're going to get these prepped. We're going to get these tinned up really quick. There's that. So now that I got my ESC prepped, leads are soldered, I actually want to put some extensions on it a little bit. These wires are just a little bit too short. So I got these extra wires that I found in my parts bins. And what we're going to do, we're just going to prep these, solder them on to these leads, and heat shrink it. And also I'll probably do some liquid electrical tape to waterproof it a little bit. And then we're going to cut these even, and then we're going to solder on our connection. Let's get to it. Alright, so I'm using my handy dandy pliers right there, and I use that to kind of hold my wire while I'm soldering. It makes it kind of nice. I'll get this prepped, and I'll get the other one prepped, and I'll see you in a second. Alright, so now that we got our little wire extensions already soldered up, ready to go, and we got our ESC wires ready, I got some heat shrink that I'm just going to put on to the ESC, so when we're done, we're just going to shrink it up and it'll be nice and clean. So we're going to go ahead and just put that on now. And then we're going to put these, solder these wires on really quick. Alright, so got our extension wires soldered on. So we're going to go ahead and heat shrink it. Alright, so we're done heat shrinking our extensions, our wire extensions onto our ESC. So we're going to line them up, and then we're going to chop them a little bit. There you go. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and prep our XT60 for soldering. We're going to prep our wires for soldering. And then we'll be getting this bad boy hooked up. Using my pliers again. Alright, so we got our XT60 connection all soldered up and prepped, ready to go. Next, we're going to prep our wires for soldering, so we're going to tin these up really quick. Alright, so we got our wires prepped now. Now we're going to take our XT60 connection and we're going to get this soldered on. So I already got some heat shrink already prepped. I'm going to go ahead and slide that on really quick. Just like that. We're going to get this XT60 soldered on now. Alright guys, so now we are all done with this connection. So here it is. I got my wire extensions right here. Then this is my XT60 connection. We're looking pretty good, I think. Alright, let's move on. Alright guys, so we're ready to put in our ESC. We're ready to mount it up. And I figured out that we are going to be putting the ESC right there. Looks good to me. So what I'm going to be using is this double-sided tape. So now I'm putting the tape on the ESC. I need one more strip. And there you go. Ready to mount up. Alright, let's install this ESC. There it is. Looks good. And now we're going to be worrying about our receiver now. Alright guys, so we're going to be installing our 2.4 gigahertz receiver. And we're going to bind it up with a Flysky GT3B. And the first thing I want to do before I install the waterproof box and everything like that is I want to get this thing binded. So I'm going to get it kind of set up. I'm going to install my servo and my ESC onto my receiver. And then we're going to bind it to my controller. Then we'll take it apart, put everything back together with the waterproof box, give it a quick test, and we're going to finish this bad boy up. Alright guys, so now we got our truck binded to my transmitter that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be doing a separate video on how to bind RCs. It's really easy, but right now this video is too long, so I didn't want to cover that. So for right now we're just going to move on, but she's bound. Alright, so we're good to go. Alright guys, so we are going to be working on this waterproof receiver box. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to put our cables in. Alright, so we got our ESC and we got our servo cables in. Alright, so with this waterproof receiver box, I have a little plastic piece right there, and this is actually going to hold the receiver up just like this. So it's going to be sitting in the box like that. So I'm going to need a piece of double-sided tape to go right here, and so I'm going to put this receiver just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and prep this side for install. There we go. So we got the tape on this side now. We're not going to take the other side of the tape off yet, but we're going to get everything connected first, and we'll go from there. One of the things I am going to put in this truck that I bought, and it's fairly cheap, and this is a Racer's Edge glitch buster. It's pretty much a cap, and I'm going to put it on the receiver. So they're not much on Amazon. I think they're like $5-7 bucks. With the race cap, you just put that on an empty channel. So my empty channel is going to be 3. And then we're going to go ahead and install the rest of our wires. We're going to install our ESC wire, which goes on channel 2. And then we're going to install our servo wire, which goes on channel 1. Just like that. So now we're all installed. Alright, so we're going to install it inside our box. Just like that. We're going to take our antenna and we're going to push it through the hole. We're going to pull up, we're going to pull some of the slack into the box. We're going to save that. We're going to put our race cap inside the box as well. It's going to be a pretty tight fit. There you go. So that is my receiver box. It's all packed in. So I got my receiver, all the wires, I got the antenna, it's coming out the end right here. And then I got my race cap in there. So now we're going to go ahead and shut this up. Alright, so we got the receiver box all buttoned up. We're going to do a quick test really quick and make sure it's okay. Alright, so we're still okay. So now we got our wires. We got our wires coming out of the back of the receiver box. Now what I like to do, we're going to get these wires to where they're nice and flat. There's a little piece right on here that goes right on top of the wires right here. Then we're going to seal it with some liquid electrical tape. We're just going to put some goop right there and we'll be good to go. Alright, so we got our receiver box done. We got our receiver in here with our race cap. We got all the cables coming out nice and straight. And then we got our antenna coming out as well. So I'm going to hit this with some liquid electrical tape now. I like to use liquid electrical tape because I believe it's a great way to waterproof anything they need to do for really, really cheap. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. Not only that, whenever you want to take this off, it just peels right up. There we go. So we got our receiver box done with liquid electrical tape. Now I do have a couple connections I do want to hit with some liquid electrical tape. I'm going to hit these two connections right here that I put some heat shrink on. I'm just a little bit worried that I'm going to get some water in there and it'll start to corrode. So I'm going to go ahead and hit these really quick. So while our liquid electrical tape is drying, we're going to go ahead and just make a small antenna. So we just take this screw out right there. Screw come out. This piece will come out. So we're going to make sure that our antenna tube is pretty tight in there. We're going to go ahead and stick our antenna inside, and then we're going to put this back on really quick, and then we're going to bolt this back up. There's a small bit of tubing on the outside. Let's see if you can see that right there. Now I'm not bending the antenna at all. Actually the antenna is inside the tube, but I'm bending this little piece of tubing. Alright, so we're just going to fold this piece of tubing down. We're going to put our antenna topper on. Should be nice and snug. There you go. So now we got our little antenna. It's perfect. Alright guys, so looks like my liquid electrical tape is pretty much dry for the most part. So it's time to get this installed and then we could drive it. So we're going to go back to my double-sided tape and we're going to put a couple strips right here and then right on here. So we're going to put one strip right there. Alright, so we'll move our cables out of the way and get this bad boy installed. Alright guys, so here we go. So we are all finished up. Got our new ESC, waterproof receiver box, got our upgraded shocks. Now we're good. We're all finished up. Let's give it a drive.